if they do implement it, just understand that all of big tech has turned against you now. This is a full-out attack on the people by the very same companies that you funded.
We have to push back on this. And it's not just fight. It's not some, bloody revolution. It can be a peaceful revolution. It's opting out.
Where is the money going? That is the thing that I think that the next 10 years, all this will unravel as the younger generation start to take power more, and they will start unraveling a lot of what's, this cloak.
This is so huge, like you can't even express how big this is. You want to accelerate the road to hyper-Bitcoinization? This is it. Events like this are going to jumpstart this.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Banter. I have Tony with me and Brandon Gentile is back. Brandon, thanks for joining, man. Let's jump right into the news. So up first, from Bitcoin News, starting December 27th, Google and Microsoft will be required to implement ID-based age check for users in Australia, up to a $50 million fine per breach. Let's watch this video real quick.
Well, we all know the under 16 social media ban will come into place next month, but do you know what else is coming in for Aussie adults? As of December 27, Australians will be forced to upload government issue IDs every time they search the web while they're logged in. Google, Bing, it doesn't matter. No ID, no search. Now, the reasoning is protecting kids from adult content. No doubt that principle has benefit. We all want to keep our children safe. The reality, though, some critics say, is a full-scale experiment in digital control. Mandatory ID uploads for all users, teenagers, seniors, everyone. Facial recognition or digital ID linking is the, quote, convenient alternative. No opt-out, no transparency, just compliance on behalf of the public. Now, China is one nation where this is in place already, but on a much larger scale. Their cyberspace ID is a government-run initiative aimed at linking citizens' real identities to their online activities. Though the government described the ID as voluntary, some critics say it may become mandatory by default. Access to essential online services, including payment systems, messaging, computing apps, could depend on possession of a digital ID. Once legal usage becomes compulsory, refusal would effectively block a citizen from daily life online, which in turn would flow into reality. That age-old idea of someone is always watching, it's no longer a metaphor. Now, this has not happened in Australia, and it's not happening to this extent on December 27. However, critics fear that this may just be the beginning. Your money, your data, essentially your whole life stored in the one place. Does it sound convenient or concerning? Would you feel safer knowing your information is in one government-controlled spot, or should you, the individual, be able to choose where your personal data is kept?
Alrighty, so dystopia continues to envelop Australia. Tony, I'm going to let you take this one first because we've been talking a lot about everything happening in Australia. We're seeing more and more people trying to get out while they can. What's your initial reaction to this?
This is going to come everywhere. This is the collapse. This is like the side effects of a collapse. All these governments are broke, and when they're broke, what's the first thing on their agenda? Is to acquire your money. And how are they going to do this? They're going to do this by funneling you like a bunch of sheep in the direction that they want you to go to, so that you're nicely cornered for them to hop in and surveil you, censor you, do whatever the hell they want with you. The sad thing about this is that big tech, Google and Microsoft, I mean, I'm not 100% sure yet. I didn't follow up on this, but I don't know if they're actually going to go through with it or they're going to opt out of Australia completely. The right thing for them to do would be to opt out, but that would you'd have to assume like these companies have a shred of integrity in them, which can be debatable. So it's yet to be seen. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. If they do implement it, just understand that all of big tech has turned against you now. This is a full-out attack on the people by the very same companies that you funded. You use their products on a daily basis. They're part of your everyday life. And now these same products that you paid good money for, they're completely being weaponized against you. This should incentivize folks to, if this proceeds, this should incentivize folks to dump all of this garbage, because these corporations understand one language, and that is money. And that money is in your control. So your vote, the vote that actually matters, is the one in your pocket, not the one at the ballot. So if you don't agree with this shit that's going on, you have a way to fight back. and you just opt out, and you support companies that value open source, that still treat human beings with dignity, that still value privacy and the God-given right of 8 billion people to it. This is absolutely horrifying, and I don't see more pushback towards this. This is what's even more upsetting to me.
Yeah. If you're waiting for the knight in shining armor to come along and save you, then you don't have any rights. This is time for people to stand up, say enough is enough. As Tony said, vote with your pocket, vote with your money, because your vote at the ballot box isn't doing anything. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, don't want to add too much more to what Tony said. He nailed a lot of it. I mean, humans are going to learn a hard lesson in morals and integrity. It's hard in this world with social media, obviously. Like you had keeping up with the Joneses to a degree. I don't know what that was like, maybe 100 years and beyond. I'm sure humans always wanted some type of status, and they're always judging themselves against the people around them. But obviously it's been ramped up with social media. People don't want to be seen as not going with the herd or doing the trending thing, literally the trending thing on social media. It's ramped up to that level where we're such like sheep and followers and like in the herd that people don't want to stand up and say F off. I'm not doing this anymore. And it's going to come to that point. I mean, again, the whole show today, like we were going over the notes, is clown world. And at some point, there's gonna be a lot of people standing up. You see it in the UK. You're seeing in Australia, people standing up and be like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this. And it's getting to a fever pitch here in America. And it's going to be some wild times ahead. So on with the more clown world headlines.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just as a side note, we, historically at the Bitcoin way, we've seen our greatest interest come from the United States. Australia has actually overtaken the United States in
Holy
certain
cow.
months for this exact reason. I mean, it's crazy, and it's a population, maybe a third or less than a third the size of the U.S. So anyway, moving on, because this is going to affect everyone as well. Anyone with Apple, pay attention. Apple has officially rolled out digital ID, allowing users in the US to add forms of identification, including a passport, directly to Apple Wallet. Some people are talking about the convenience, which is always the marketing the tactic of big government, big tech when they roll out something, again, very dystopian. Brandon, you take this one first, man. Are you gonna upload your passport to Apple's digital ID?
Yeah, it's wild, honestly, guys, because there's so many things. I was thinking of like the CBDC too, and people, you hear it all the time. Bitcoin is gonna be that they're getting us used to the CBDC, and that's how they're gonna get us. And like, there's all these variations people have, and it's like you the clown world can't even like zoom out and figure out that they're already in said clown world. They're already there. You already have digital dollars. They can already. I mean, the FDIC 3 years ago, it has. I uploaded like a minute clip on my YouTube like 3 years ago of the FDIC, a minute clip, and it has like 30,000 views. The FDIC saying, we're going to bail you in. We're going to take your money. We don't have confidence in the system, unlike the public does. I mean, that's verbatim words. I'm not paraphrasing what they're saying. And here we are. You have people like, oh, I'm going to upload all my blood, here's my nose hairs, and here's my passport. For what? We're all building these towers of Babel, and good luck. I mean, we know the end game that always comes crashing down and never ends well, and we're always trying to play God. Good luck.
For me, here's what I see the risk, because I've seen people comment. They're like, well, I already have a passport. The government has documentation of that identification. What's the big deal if it's just stored digitally? And I think, at least in my mind, that the big deal is, well, once it's digital, and if they get a sufficient number of people on board with this, now that's tied to Apple Pay. It's tied to the way that you transact, your geolocation, all of these things, right? A physical passport isn't tied to that, even though you could argue against any government ID at all. Once it becomes digital, it becomes much easier for them to lock down on a variety of aspects of your life in a way that they can't with a physical passport. Tony, would you concur that that's maybe the threat here and sort of the slippery slope that we're looking at?
Yeah, of course. This is extremely dangerous. I mean, don't you know what happened in India with the digital IDs? Their entire system got hacked, and you've got millions of people that are literally locked out of their own lives because none of their systems work. They've been cloned and used and abused by God knows how many people. This is exactly what these digital IDs are going to lead to. The honeypot is just too good to pass up with someone with the skill set to attack it. And don't think for a second that just because it's in the US, somehow it's immune to these attacks. No one is immune. Once the information exists, it exists for everyone, the good and the bad. This is especially disgusting to me because I've always been an Apple fan for, since the age of 10. But the Apple that I knew and supported is long gone. I mean, if Steve Jobs was still around, he must be seizing in his grave, the poor guy, to see what his company had turned into. The company that once stood up for privacy, for standing up for the people. Do you remember a few years ago when they refused to help the FBI unlock someone's phone? That was like the line in the sand that would never be crossed. What happened to that company? It's dead. The leadership at Apple is complete garbage today. First of all, their products are complete, like quality control has gone down the tubes. There's core rot all over the place. Innovation has been dead for God knows how many years. At best, they copy differently now. What else? I mean, again, these companies are no longer your friends. They are government prostitutes. They are just bending over to serve their own interests. Focus on other projects that still support, freedom of rights, freedom of privacy, and they protect it with code. Open source is the movement. I threw out, I'd say, 90% of all my Apple products when I read this digital ID rubbish. This is absolutely horrifying. And again, the only vote that matters is the one of your money. Use it. Otherwise, if you start normalizing that your entire life now belongs to a decision made, with a corporation somewhere around the world, well, your life is done, man. Your life no longer belongs to you. And again, I go back to that example. There is no difference between you and a donkey at that point. You might as well just have a leash around your neck and, ask daddy government to come take you for a walk.
I think that's well said. It's concerning, to say the very least, and like I said, it's a slippery slope. I think it's something that the more people who opt into it, and you have to keep in mind too that they would have had to collaborate with TSA and perhaps even intelligence agencies. The minute a private company starts doing that, like you're making a deal with the devil. You have to avoid this stuff. Alrighty. Up next, more from Clown World. Canada has introduced a bill for universal basic income. You're going to see this across all nations soon, says Z Media official. The fiat system is collapsing and AI is going to drain many, many jobs. Their solution will be digital, programmable money that is issued based upon compliance. And we go back to the digital IDs and having to enter your age verification information for social media, for internet access, anything. Scary times. I think we all know what UBI means. Brandon, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's wild because we've gone through this many times in human history, right? We have, horses, people were plowing the fields and doing all this stuff. Then tractors came along, and then cars came along. Like all these innovations that come along, and humans adapted. We didn't need these massive stimulus or digital IDs from the government. Humans, believe it or not, are adaptable. They're very adaptable, and we can figure these things out. And people get their panties in a bunch and freak out about all these things, and we miss the forest from the trees. So and again, I know we'll probably mention this, and you guys have talked about this week too. Again, with the 50-year mortgages and the 15-year auto loans, and it just, like, every time merit and accountability can come back into the world and reassert itself, we kick the can further down the road because for some reason we can't allow any hardship in life. Like, we're trying to root out all hardship in every single human's life, which, at the end of the day, I get might be noble for 99% of people because that's what they're thinking it is. But there's a 1% that are controlling a lot of what's going on. They're not doing it for noble reasons. And that's the game that's being played that most people just don't understand that's happening. Like Tony said earlier, the Sam Altman crowd, some of these people, you gotta kind of like sit back and ask, what planet are these people from? They're not of the world that you and I are from. And that's where the money, some of these things incentivize this, the broken money. And then you come to this, where they live in a world where the only thing that matters is, like one of you guys mentioned, is the money to them at the end, or the currency. We don't even have money. We have a currency. There is no money, and except Bitcoin. And so the currency is what's incentivizing these 90-day earning calls and all these different things. And then the government is forced to do things like this because people are hurting so much naturally because we've destroyed so many things for so long in said place, wherever that may be, really across the world right now, then now you have to come and introduce things like this because it feels like the natural next evolution. However, we have the antidote. We've never had that antidote, Bitcoin, in all of human history until the last 16 years. So we're on a collision course for that true split in the road of CBDCs and slavery, universal basic income, or Bitcoin and freedom.
That is well said, and I think there's this thread that pulls all of these together. If you are given UBI, it's going to eventually be first of all, never mind the inflationary effects, the money printing, we know that's coming. It's going to be tied to this digital identity. It's going to be given in the form of a CBDC, and you're not going to be able to use it, spend it if you don't have the digital ID, if you don't then follow the rules that are attached to your digital ID. So it all comes together in one place, and it's complete authoritarianism, complete tyranny. We have to push back on this. And it's not just fight, it's not some, bloody revolution. It can be a peaceful revolution. It's opting out. It's choosing to vote with your feet. It's choosing to vote with where you allocate your resources into something like Bitcoin versus the fiat system, which is going to enslave you. Tony.
There's no chance this thing doesn't turn into a violent revolution in some way, shape, or form. The peaceful part is for those who understand what's going on and are taking, the necessary measures to protect themselves and their families by opting out of this, rigged chessboard. But for those that are clueless and find themselves stuck at some point and just don't want to put up with it, anymore, these guys will have no other choice but to turn into a violent revolution. This is why I was talking, several weeks ago, that I think we're literally headed into a world of Elysium, where half of it is going to be just fine living, where the grass is super green, and the other half is going to be living in the literal definition of hell. And so those who want to opt out of that hell, well, they're going to do anything and everything imaginable in order to, hopefully get that result. That cannot be peaceful. I mean, just look at history. It's never happened. Why would it start now? So all of this universal basic income, this is digital enslavement. The money is finished. Everyone saving in fiat is broke. Whether they want to accept it, whether they want to lie to themselves every morning thinking they're okay, you're broke. Your money is worthless. These are fake numbers on a screen that will be seized, confiscated, erased at some point whenever they decide. There's no government that has money. They're all beyond broke. They can't repay anything. So they're going to come after you, the cattle. The only option they have at their disposal is you. So if you don't do anything to protect yourself, you are going to get, vacuum cleaned into this mess. And at some point, if you have the option to opt out, it's going to be a very, very painful and ugly way out. So for anyone, with a shred of common sense, still paying, 30-second attention in this day and age today, you still have whatever tiny window of opportunity available to you. You have got to do something. Sitting around hoping, things magically work out, those days are long gone, man. This is like suicide at its finest for anyone who's following that playbook.
Well said. Brandon, you brought up Sam Altman. So Sam Altman is backing a startup that is looking to do the first gene-edited baby. The scientists warn this is dangerous. No shit. Very concerning times, but we've got just like this new younger crop of the Bill Gates types who are trying to play God and determine, who can become what and what's okay, and it all has this moral veil that I think we can look at pretty readily and say, okay, this is just insanity. But Tony, what's your opinion of Sam Altman and what his newest project to save the world?
These are not people that should be allowed anywhere near this type of technology, let alone be given the power to make decisions over things like this. This is like a psychopath on the loose. Absolutely stay away and do not support this. On the surface, man, any stupid idea, any dangerous idea can be marketed to look like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but just zoom out a bit, look beneath the surface, and you can see why this is like the worst imaginable thing that you can let someone like that do. I opt out of this, man. I don't know how far, people like this are going to get, in this world. But if the world doesn't push back, God help us, man.
Yeah. Is it the movie Gattaca? Have you guys seen that before?
Mm-hmm.
I think this was like kind of the premise.
No.
I haven't seen it in like 20 years,
Yeah,
but this is going to be the risk that parents are going to have to make a decision as they watch other people edit their baby's genes. Do I want to put my child at a potential disadvantage and,
Yes.
play the game and participate and try to be God, or do I want to let my kid grow up potentially disadvantaged to other children? And it's going to put them in this terrible situation to make a decision that they should never have to make. So leave babies alone. That's my personal opinion. Brandon, what would you add?
Yeah, there used to be something that everyone generally believed is leave babies alone, leave the children. But yeah, we're in a different world. I shouldn't say that. We're in the same world. I mean, for thousands of years of recorded history, we have a lot of this type of stuff. Now the technology is different and it's changed now, but we've had human sacrifice going on for a long time, and here we are. It's just rearing its head in different ways. And for some reason, again, people, we drink at the chalice of easy money or easy currency, right? So we get ourselves into these predicaments, like all the things we've just shown, whether it's, here we are, universal basic income, or the 15-minute cities, the digital IDs, or whatever things are going on. So we back ourselves into these corners, and then where we paint ourselves in these corners and we can't get out. And this is that next evolution of that, of, hey, we're gonna, again, going back to this status thing of comparing yourself to other people. Well, now I'm at a disadvantage. And again, Bitcoin cleans all this up. Bitcoin truly cleans these incentives up and fixes a lot of these problems where you're still going to have fallible people and people that are doing some bad things here in the world, obviously. But you have this world where instead of trying to go get another grant or trying to raise more debt in this fake fiat system, because that's the only way to get ahead. Again, these 90-day earning calls, or the only way to do things is to make payroll with more debt. And then look how many companies don't even make a profit, obviously, over the last 20 years. And it is this wild world is just more debt, pulling our future, coming back to the children, pulling our children's wealth from the future into the present so we can enjoy it now. And so we can build to some ridiculous company, have some stupid headline that looks really cool. And then, fortunately, a lot of that stuff never even comes to fruition, or it takes a long time, or it gets really changed over the years. But we are in a moral decay of society that is generated largely because of the broken money and the broken world that we live in. And that leads to very quickly a broken money, which then basically pollutes everything upstream and then pollutes everything downstream. So how can you have an honest society with dishonest money? You can't. How can you have good fruit from a bad tree? You can't. Well, we're living that.
Yeah, completely agree. A lot of these bad ideas would die in a world based on sound money. Alrighty, guys. I guess, good news. After 232 years, the U.S. Mint has made the last penny. Now we just need to make sure they stop making nickels, dimes, quarters, any sort of paper bill. That would be lovely, and then we could head back to sound money on a Bitcoin standard. Tony, take this one.
How much did it cost to make this penny? Probably like $100.
It's like I think it's 4 cents to make a penny or something like that.
I don't know, man. I guess it's good news for those who like collectibles.
There you go. Brandon, this one's just fun.
It's funny because it was like a year ago. Remember, Trump had a bunch of like the different the marketing schemes he was kind of throwing out, or the headline grabbing things during the campaign. And this was one of the things, I believe, maybe like a year and a half ago, could have been 2 years ago at this point, when they were like, oh, we're going to shut down a bunch of the coin minting and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, it's going to save so much. And for a political campaign, it was smart. The way they were operating it was smart. But in a real sense, like, this is the problem that Bitcoiners have been outlining for so long. Number one, the inflation. Like, we don't even have use for a penny anymore, right? And we don't use physical things anymore. We use digital things, right? There's all these things. But then there's the third pillar of this, which is, where does that savings go? Like, where does it, we don't even know how to track the savings. And that's what I think the younger generation really has a hard time with. The older generations, maybe 50 and up, 40, 50 and up, really, they were the handshake generation. Like, people, their word was their bond generally. Now that got warped and people got screwed over time because of that belief. And bad people figure out, hey, this guy believes me, I just got to shake his hand. Now the younger generation has seen that for a decade or two, a couple of decades, and they want transparency. They're not having any of this bullshit anymore. And they want an honest ledger. They want something they can see and verify and say, no, we're not doing this stuff. So coming back to this again, where's that savings? Where does it go? All these things are coming to fruition. You look at some of the I won't say his name on here, but the big case of the guy doing things with children, that kind of stuff. The younger generation won't put up with that anymore. They don't just sweep things under the rug. They want justice. They want clarity. They want transparency. So something like this. Where is the money going? We save this money, great. Where is it going? No one knows. And that's like, it goes back to the USAID stuff. It goes back to trying to audit anything. You can't. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit in 10 years or whatever it is, 8 years, 10 years. Where is the money going? That is the thing that I think that the next 10 years, all this will unravel as the younger generation start to take power more, and they will start unraveling a lot of what's, this cloak of secrecy that's been, woven for the last, we'll call it 100 years since the Fed or something.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because I think the younger generation is our hope. We've got a generation who's grown up, I think, rather comfortably because of a fiat standard, and now it's beginning to break, and we need more skeptical people asking critical questions of those in positions of power. Alrighty, up next. So we got this headline here. Trump-linked crypto projects surge as Senate moves to end government shutdown. Since this article came out, actually, the shutdown has ended, as I understand. So I think 67,000 federal employees are going back to work. Unfortunately, we were doing so well without them. But if you look at the data, it's pretty striking. So the World Liberty Fi tokens have led the rally with 33% surge, following Melania meme coin and Trump meme coin with 13 and 12% surges, respectively. So basically, everything's good if you're close to the money printer, if you're close to a position of power, influence, and so forth. Brandon.
Yeah, I think we did I don't even know. I feel like I talked to one of you guys right around that time about, with one of that stuff coming out a year ago or whatever it was. But the Trump, someone had a great tweet. It was like the Trump coins have done better than Bitcoin has. They're like, it was like a Bitcoiner. I think someone was making fun of the Bitcoin, like, oh, we, coming through, thought we were going to do all these great things, and and it's just like cutscene. And it's stuff that Tony's been warning about, for over the last year. Again, it's just like, guys, this is, getting a Bitcoin strategic reserve and all these things. You got to be real careful what you do in here. You're getting the Trojan horse inside here, but you got to be real careful. It's what Jeff Booth talks about. It's what Tony talks about with, hey, this is a protocol outside the system. You got to be very careful, because a lot of people think this is just another asset inside the old system. And that's this war that we're fighting. So, I think that to me is the hilarity in all of it. And it was the thing I think we had talked about maybe a year ago was, to me, it was just a payoff. Like these coins, it was the whatchamacallit, what's the guy, the AI, the czar, the AI czar and crypto czar, David Sachs. To me, it was just it was just a payoff to those guys. His sons are running the stuff. It was a payoff to a lot of the donors. They got in on it. They were making money off of it, and they control. I mean, again, people have known this for a long time, but I think social media is really making this very apparent and obvious now to people. Elon was doing it 4 years ago with the Doge thing. He'd send out a tweet. Like, these guys aren't dumb. Like, they know what they're doing. This manipulation of markets. It used to be called insider trading to a large extent, and now it's just completely like no one knows. It's Wild West. Like, everyone's just like, it's just a free for all. Which, hey, a free market is a free market. But like, let's let everyone have a free market. Like, let's take away accredited investor statuses. Like, let's let everyone be the free market. If we're gonna do this, like, let's do it the right way. So it's fascinating what's going on right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tony, it feels a little bit like the pipe investors of the Treasury codes. What's your take on Trump and Melania coin?
Well, I mean, they've normalized public theft as long as you belong to that club. I mean, they have all these money laundering and fraud rules and regulations for everybody else except for them, which is what clearly what this rubbish is. Like, who buys this garbage? Right?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's buying it.
No, anyone.
I thought that project was kind of over, like it was just sitting off to the side. I didn't know that there was still priced action. It's absolute absurdity.
Specific people with specific incentives and guaranteed results. That's who.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. And so some good news. So in January, Christine Lagarde stated, "I'm confident Bitcoin will not enter the reserves of any of the central banks of the EU." And then today, so this is yesterday, the Czech central bank added $1 million worth of Bitcoin to its reserves. Perhaps more to come. We will see. I'm not a guy who generally cheers on strategic Bitcoin reserves of nation states. However, anytime you can stick it to Christine Lagarde, I'm happy to have a laugh. Tony, I'll let you run with this one first. Wait, by the way, Tony, do you think this is like I mean, obviously, I think we think everyone capitulates eventually. Do you think this is a domino effect here in the coming months or year, that they're just the first of many?
Yeah, probably. I mean, she was so confident in her speech, about this, and she just got the nicest middle finger, publicly. So I'm just waiting to see who's next on the, GFY to the EU list. And I think there's going to be a lot more coming out, because the EU's finished. It's done. It's game over. There's no hope in hell for the revival of this mafia. And a lot of European countries are starting to realize this on their own, and they're pulling away. And I suspect this is going to continue to increase, which is why things in the EU, at least in the short to midterm, are likely going to get, really bad for EU citizens. Whether it's, that sinister chat control that's back, whether it's, the trying to accelerate the rollout of that central bank digital garbage of theirs. All of these, dystopian measures, again, to surveil and steal and lock you in, they're going to increase. And like the more insane they are, it's because they are closer to that, imminent, like final collapse. And so these are just these desperate attempts, to try to hopefully have something stick while they still can. I don't think it's going to work, but you need more people, more retail to pay attention that there is an option for them to opt out. Bitcoin in self-custody, it's here, it's now, it's available. It's been available since 2009. But yet most people, they're just like, blindly walking into this nightmare, complaining about it all day long for sure, but not doing anything, really useful to help themselves. Some are, too many aren't. And unfortunately, they're going to have to learn that lesson, the absolutely brutal way. I don't see any other way, unfortunately. I don't like saying this, but like, no matter, how much effort we try to push out there, some people are just, I don't know, they're either brain dead or they just, they're just like, gluttons for pain.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I would add I'm an equal opportunity hater of governments. However, I will give the Czech Republic some credit where credit's due, because they also have some. I don't remember the specifics. I think it's like after 3 years of holding Bitcoin, there's no capital gains tax. So like they've not only done some things like this that might strengthen the state, which is unfortunate in my view, but also things that would benefit the citizens of the Czech Republic. So I think they see the writing on the wall, is sort of my interpretation of this. Brandon, what would you say?
Yeah, and I know parts of that world, obviously, there's a lot of, they remember what happened with collectivism coming in, and dominating them for decades, right? And it wasn't that long ago. There's still a lot of people alive today and have seen that. Obviously, the Prague conference is there. You guys have been there. You guys have both spoken on stage there. There's a good cadre of people there that get it. They get what's going on. So it doesn't surprise me that they're doing this. And again, it's equal opportunity hating on central banks and government for sure. And at the end of the day, if Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, and it's doing what it should do, and we know what to do, and then this is going to happen. I mean, you can't. It's permissionless money, so like everyone needs it. Families need it, governments need it, central banks need it. But again, it doesn't. It only delays something inevitable in the sense of I think what doesn't get talked about enough is that when central banks might be buying it now, or some they might start doing that, but once more people like Bitcoin's changed our lives, and any Bitcoiner you talk to who's truly living on a Bitcoin standard or in a Bitcoin standard or however you want to phrase it, it's changed our lives. It's changed how we think about things. It's changed how we look at the future. All these things. People are having more kids. Bitcoiners are like all these different ways. So therefore, if it stays decentralized and secure, whether you're a central banker or in the government, or Christine Lagarde starts getting it, like her daughter, her son has it, right? Well, eventually she will bend the knee to it in some way, shape, or fashion. Like people will start bending the knee, and then guess what? As your mind changes, now some might have to go through a farther bridge, but that person then starts realizing, oh my gosh, I don't need this. And they start looking for other things. And that's not going to happen to every single person, obviously, right? But there's going to be a lot of people that I think we discount as Bitcoiners, whether they're in government or at central banks or at these, the Sam Altmans of the world who we were just, ragging on earlier. They will be changed by Bitcoin and how they see the world with a neutral money that gives the deflation back to the people. Because guess what? At the end of the day, they are humans as well, and they have family members as well, and they want them to do well. So it's going to take a little while. It doesn't happen overnight, but this really will change humans. And this is just these steps, these little, exits posts along the way as people start exiting off the fiat ramps, and then they start changing. And so we're at the beginning. I mean, this is why people, by too late to Bitcoin, you're early. I mean, you're so early. It's going to happen quicker than you think, but you still have time to stack sats, trade your garbage trash tokens for Bitcoin, the hardest money on earth. But it's clear what's happening to those of us that have been sitting here for a while watching these things. But it's up to us to make sure that stays decentralized and secure. Excuse me.
Absolutely. All righty. Last up, we've got some good news here. So, Cash App is allowing you to pay over Bitcoin rails using your USD balance. So, no Bitcoin required. So, I asked Grok to talk about the implications. It says Cash App's new feature, announced on November 12th, lets 58 million users fund Bitcoin payments via Lightning using USD balances, bypassing the need to hold BTC and avoiding taxable events, which means that merchants on Square benefit from zero fees, no chargebacks, and instant settlement on Bitcoin rails, enhancing adoption for everyday transactions like the $10 payment shown in the post screenshot. By enabling fiat to Bitcoin conversions at scale, this bridges normies to the Bitcoin ecosystem, supporting long term hyper Bitcoinization through network effects and merchant demand, as highlighted in the quote by Alex Gladstein. So, pretty exciting stuff. Tony, what do you think the implications of this are? This is big news.
This is euphoric news. This has been the highlight of my entire day today when I read this. This is so huge, like you can't even express how big this is. You want to accelerate the road to hyper Bitcoinization? This is it. This is the events like this are going to jumpstart this. This is what's going to take Bitcoin as a medium of exchange to exponential heights in a very, very, very quick period of time. What this has done, it has unlocked every bloody eligible merchant as of right now to start accepting Bitcoin with almost no effort. So if somebody walks into your store and you want to get paid in Bitcoin, they can do it even if they don't hold Bitcoin themselves, because they can pay from their regular bank account. The Cash App will be like the middleman to convert it into Bitcoin and send it to you, the merchant. So all merchants, as of right now, those are eligible to use this. I mean, they're still rolling it out. But those that can use it right away can start accepting it right this second. And this is crazy huge, because how else are you going to get people to think of Bitcoin as money? This is like the most brain dead method to do it. So instead of using, paying like you've normally done, you've just activated Bitcoin. And I would encourage merchants to incentivize people to pay them by giving them a discount. So when somebody walks into a store, never seen Bitcoin, never held it ever, he has a product for $100, he can get it for 80 by using the same money in his bank account right there and then. Which path do you think he's going to take? He's going to take the $80 route, right? Except the merchant has received that in Bitcoin. So eventually that's going to trigger curiosity, open up like a boatload of questions, and this is how we're going to get normies to finally start paying more attention to Bitcoin as money, which is the only way it remains decentralized and secure. This is a huge win by Jack Dorsey. I mean, this is like, I can't commend him enough on what he's put out there. This is really, really bigger than most people can possibly imagine right now, and I'm very excited to see this continue to roll out globally, which I'm sure it will.
Yeah. Anything to reduce friction for Bitcoinist payments, I think, is incredibly important. Brandon, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Tony nailed it. I don't agree with everything with Jack Dorsey. I'm sure you guys don't always agree with him either. However, two things can be true. More things can be true than one, right? As school teaches you there's one right answer, but there's not. There's millions of right answers, and Jack nailed this. This is a massive win. This is how, it's does the chicken or the egg? What comes first? Like, is it the businesses that have to have Bitcoin and saying, hey, or is it the person that's got to go to the business and say, hey, will you accept Bitcoin? Everyone's always in this fight. But, this is how many people just had conversations this week that never knew what Bitcoin was or never had it explained to them. Or now they're, like Tony said, asking these questions like, what is this? Wait, I don't have to pay fees on it, or, it's very, fractions of a penny fees or whatever it is. This is massive. And all these little, again, we talk about all these little exit posts off the fiat ramps. This stuff does not happen overnight, and it's only been 15, 16 years. I mean, it's been, gold took hundreds and hundreds of years to assert itself on the global stage. And now it's 15, 16 years in, and Bitcoin is doing what it is now is really remarkable. And we need more people like this. We need more people developing stuff like this and seeing this. But again, it takes time. This is truly massive, because this is how it gets incepted into people's minds. And in Trojan horse is everyone, really at the same time. So I think this like Tony said, this could not be talked about enough, because it is massive for what it's going to do for businesses and people being alerted to this. And it just, fees going away. Hey, it's instant settlement. There's no chargebacks. All these things that people deal with in the legacy system, it's gone.
Well said, guys. Great chat. This has been a lot of fun. Some good news, some bad news, but that's just the way of the world these days. Let's keep fighting for Bitcoin. For everyone who tuned in, really appreciate you being here. Stick around for another minute, learn about the Bitcoin way. Brandon, why don't you tell them where they can find you and your channel?
My channel is just Brandon underscore Gentile. So my name underscore Brandon underscore Gentile on Twitter, on YouTube, our podcast that we do there. We have, obviously, you guys are great sponsors of the show. We could not be more happy to be aligned with people with the same ethos and building this direction. We need more and more people, a couple percent of people in society. We got to drag this way, our way, and it will absolutely happen. So one foot in front of the other. And that's where you can find me on the podcast and Spotify, Fountain, all the places. And appreciate you guys having me.
Amen. Brandon, thanks
guys.
for joining today, man. Good chatting, Tony. You guys take care.
See you guys.
Cheers. Hey there, thank you for tuning into Bitcoin Banter. Wanted to take a quick minute to remind you to head on over to thebitcoinway.com/podcast to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with a member of our team. It is critical that you take full control of your wealth, and we can equip you with the skills needed to take 100% self-custody of your Bitcoin. For our existing clients, we also offer our Bitcoin Bootcamp, where we will conduct quarterly calls with you to reinforce the training we've provided and fill any gaps in your knowledge. While you're at it, ask about our solo mining service, something we think everybody should be doing. We also help with addressing your personal and online cybersecurity, and we can even help you set up a privacy phone free of big tech and Big Brother surveillance. Don't underestimate the amount of tracking taking place in your browser and in the apps you use every day. And finally, whether you're ready to make a move to a freedom-loving paradise or want to back up in the event of a worst-case scenario, be sure to ask about our Plan B residency program. Being untethered from a single location is one of the best ways to ensure your self-sovereignty into the future. Again, you can schedule a free consultation at thebitcoinway.com/podcast. If you are enjoying the show, please do me a favor, subscribe to our channel wherever you listen, give us a 5-star review, and drop us a comment. We would really appreciate it, and it makes it easier for others to begin finding us as we preach the gospel of financial self-sovereignty and beyond. Thank you again for listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay sovereign, and remember, the yield on Bitcoin is freedom.